Alright, so scenario. Best friend took a genetic test and found out that they have a predisposition towards type 2 diabetes. Let's go ahead and talk about that. Explain it to him in layman's terms. So, I understand that you're feeling upset and confused about this test result that you have. Let's go ahead and go through it together. So, type 2 diabetes itself is a chronic metabolic disorder. It's one of two forms of diabetes. Type 1, which you don't have, you would have been born with it and been dealing with those consequences lifelong. And type 2, which you can gradually develop over time. So, with it being a metabolic disorder, it's characterized by a couple of things. The first is an elevated blood sugar, also known as hyperglycemia. The second is a resistance to insulin, along with an impaired ability to secrete insulin into your bloodstream. Insulin is a hormone that allows glucose to go back into the cells in your body and technically lower that blood sugar. So, the test indicates that you're predisposed to it, meaning there's a chance you could get it, but you don't quite have it yet. It's good because you're able to prevent or delay it. There's a couple of different risk factors for type 2 diabetes, both genetic and environmental. So, this disorder itself is polygenic, meaning that there's multiple genes that contribute to this. Genetic factors are additionally more prevalent or more important in type 2 diabetes versus type 1 diabetes. So let's say that you have both of your parents, right? One parent has type 2 diabetes, 40% chance that you go ahead and get that. Your second parent has type 2 diabetes, 70% chance. So we focused on the genetic side, risk factors. If you have a relative, that increases it, all that good stuff. Pivoting over to the environmental. The really big things to be conscientious of are obesity, or what's your weight, poor diet, and sedentary lifestyle. So carrying around all of that excess body weight creates a resistance to insulin itself. That ends up leaving all that extra glucose in your bloodstream, and then that can eventually cause like type 2 diabetes symptoms like excessive urination, fatigue, feeling weak, thirsty, and poor wound healing. That's all what happens after you end up getting diagnosed with the disease itself. The additional two factors, the poor diet, eating foods that are high in processed sugar, that once again raises blood sugar, and that impairs the ability for insulin to work. And then the last thing is that sedentary or stationary lifestyle that just kind of compounds both of those risk factors. So we've talked about the disease itself. You have a predisposition, you don't have it yet. There are things that you can do in order to prevent it from happening. Exercise is going to be crucial, so make sure that you're hitting the gym a couple of times a week. Weight training, cardio doesn't really matter as long as you are physically moving your body and taking efforts to be healthy. Then the dietary component, avoiding sugary foods and drinks, can also help too. So let's just say, for like argument's sake, that this friend ended up having one parent who had type 2 diabetes, 40% risk, right? You go ahead, you take some of those healthy variables that you are able to control, the exercise, the diet, that can go ahead and significantly reduce your chance or prevent that from happening. And then the other thing that you're able to do too is something called an HbA1c. That's a blood test. It measures the overall like glucose levels that you have in your blood, and then that can kind of be used to stage how close you are to developing type 2 diabetes. So living a healthy lifestyle and following up with your primary care provider are all very important things to kind of assess your risk for developing this condition. Please see the attached pamphlet I have for any citations. Thank you. Bye.